Review Radio.
Hello and happy Good Friday, everyone. It's Paranormal Review Radio Night with me, Anthony Agati.
And me, Lucy Liebfried.
Yep, it's that time again when Lucy and I infect your mobile devices, laptops, computers, and your minds with the ever-fascinating topics of the paranormal. And, well, there's no real cure for this type of infection, so you might as well just enjoy the symptoms like inquisitive thoughts on the supernatural, chronic hand motions to pick up your phone and call in, loud outbursts of disbelief at your computer screen, and a feeling of strangeness and wonder all over your body. The show can become addictive, so I caution your listening.
Do you all out there listening have paranormal fever? Because we have a hot show tonight, and you're all invited to call in and share your stories with us. Our phone lines are open, and the number to call is 661-244-9831. Anthony and I only have a small bit of information to discuss tonight, and the rest of the time is what you all bring to the paranormal table. So don't hesitate. Call.
Yeah, that's right, Lucy. Tonight we're going to be talking about Haunted America, the sites and locations of American hauntings from all over the country. We'll share with you the top 10 lists that Lucy and I sort of put together of haunted locations that you should all visit according to the internet polls and data that we found. Plus, on the flip side, we're going to share some of the not-so-well-known places sort of off the beaten path that are not widely known for their haunts but should be researched and investigated. We, like Lucy was saying, we only have a little bit of information for each of these locations, and the rest is up to you all. We want to hear from you and allow you to share some of your investigations and let us know where you have been. What were some of the reports, and what did you find? This is going to be some sort of open mic night for all you paranormal investigators out there. So come on in and share your stuff with us and our listeners. I'm sure we all can benefit from them and maybe even swap some good hints on some of the top places out there for gathering great evidence.
So, Anthony, while we wait for some of the callers, let's start with a little introduction on how and why a location becomes haunted. What are some of the aspects to the reasoning behind ghostly inhabitants, okay? Some people believe that ghosts are trapped on Earth because they don't yet realize that they're dead. There are those who believe that they can communicate with these ghosts and help them move on. Some ghosts remain in their bodies. Some ghosts remain when their bodies have been improperly buried or not buried at all, thus seeking a proper burial. Some ghosts remain when their bodies, some ghosts seem to return to reenact some crisis from their former lives, usually their death scene. Some ghosts were the victim of a murder, and they feel they cannot move on until their attacker has been found and brought to justice. Some ghosts return to seek revenge or remain to punish the living for crimes against them or against their descendants. Some ghosts are believed to be trapped by unfinished business. They return to complete some task left undone, to fulfill a promise made while alive, or to convey useful information to the living. Some ghosts appear to remain on Earth for the purpose of communicating danger to someone living or to convey useful information to someone living. Some ghosts appear to have strong emotional ties to a site. Some ghosts appear to be worried about the loved ones they've left behind and return to give comfort to grieving family members or to give them advice. Many people believe that a ghost remaining in this world is a clear punishment. Evildoers remain among the living after death because they have not earned the right to eternal peace and rest. Sometimes there doesn't seem to be a reason for the haunting, or the spirit merely wishes to continue on.
Well, Lucy, we actually, the phone lines are actually lighting up right now, so I'm going to start to take some phone calls if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And we have our first caller, area code 989. I believe that is Michigan. Hello, you are on the air with Anthony and Lucy, Paranormal Review Radio.
Hi, Anthony and Lucy. This is Noah. How are you?
Hi, Noah.
Hi, Noah.
How are you?
Great. This is only my second time actually hearing your show, and I'm actually very excited. I enjoyed last week, and I'm glad that you guys opened up the line so I could share just a little bit with the group tonight.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, you know, a lot of people visit Philadelphia, and they have stories of places they like to visit and places they like to go. I actually had the opportunity to go a year and a half back, and there is a location that a lot of people overlook because maybe it's a national park. I think it would probably prevent people from even thinking about any sort of paranormal activity. But
right.
I'm putting the URL up in the room right now, and it's the house of Edgar Allan Poe. It's because it is a national park. It has very limited hours, but so many people are drawn to the Liberty Bell and other things, and they totally overlook the spot. And I am not a paranormal investigator in the traditional sense. I'm part of Nexus Paranormal out of Chicago, and I am a consultant. And I specialize in world religions. I do readings. I don't like to say the word psychic. I do readings.
Right.
And I have a lot of experience with some of the lesser-known religions, like voodoo in New Orleans. But before I even get into anything like that, I just want to say Edgar Allan Poe's house, if anybody ever has a chance to go, there's definitely a tangible presence there. This is the house in which he was, and if you go to that link, you can kind of get a look at it. It's free to get in there, and it's worth every cent. The root cellar alone has a very palpable feeling, and this is broad daylight. No equipment, just simply going in. And he actually was inspired to write his poem, "The Black Cat," from that basement. But even more striking in the house is the room in which he wrote The Raven. They have a very large raven outside. You don't feel his presence necessarily, but when I went across the hallway into the other room, I was physically stopped. I mean, this has only happened to me twice in my life, once in New Orleans, once here, and I was physically stopped in my tracks. I mean, it wasn't a tug, but I lost my balance. And talking to the park ranger about what that room was, it was actually his mother-in-law's room. And so I would venture to guess that she may still be attached to that house somehow. If it's not her, it could have been his ailing wife. But just the opportunity to go into such a very neat place, which, a lot of people that like the paranormal love Edgar Allan Poe, it's worth that. But then to go in there and just get a sense of the kind of the atmosphere in which he dwelt and worked in, and maybe even get a little bit of a push like I did, is definitely worth visiting.
Do you know if they ever open it up to paranormal investigations overnight or anything of that nature?
They seem very friendly, and they actually could. I do know they open it for private events, and if they're willing to open it for private events, then I would think that they would allow some sort of event like that, only with probably it would be predicated on maybe having a park steward there, not necessarily a full park ranger. As long as they had a steward there, because everything is in its original condition. Nothing's been repainted to make it look pretty. It would be great to see somebody actually be able to go in there and collect EVPs or something that would prove that there is a continuation of existence there, because it is palpable, and it's a very famous site which I've yet to see anybody explore.
Were you able to go? You were able to go on a tour during the day, and did they take you around and tell you of the history of the place?
They cut you completely loose. That's the beautiful part.
Okay.
You literally knock on the door. The park ranger's at the desk. He welcomes you, kind of tells you what the place is, gives you a map. There's a little video you can watch, and you're free to roam. And that's a little dangerous for someone like me, just to let me wander around in Edgar Allan Poe's house, because I'm very tactile and I'm, smelling and touching and snapping photos. It was interesting. So that's one site, and one other site that I did want to mention that has not been investigated is Mackinac Island. I don't know if any of your listeners have investigated it, but Mackinac Island here in Michigan is extremely active. I do know the sales manager she's on it's Circle Michigan, that's our Board of Tourism, and she said that there are a lot of instances that happen that they don't talk about, because people like to think of Mackinac Island as a family place, not as a haunted place.
Right.
But when they close it up over the summer, and the Grand Hotel is akin to the Stanley Hotel as far as its imposing facade and the size. And I know that that's maybe a very bold statement, but a very famous paranormal group mentioned at a convention 2 years ago that they wanted to investigate there, but they've never approached Julie or anyone else about doing it. And I think Mackinac Island is a very, very rich place with the Native American spirits that are there. There is a French dignitary who was very rich. Her body is actually interred in the oldest church courtyard. It's a Catholic church there on the island. And then the bloody wars that took place from the fort, I would think that it would be extremely active and worth exploring.
I may be incorrect, but I thought I remember hearing, because this name sounds very familiar to me. I thought I remember hearing this through the show Ghost Hunters, but I'm not sure if they actually did an episode or were thinking of doing something at Mackinac Island, but that sounds very familiar to me.
I know that they were on Mackinac Island, but they were not at the Grand Hotel.
Okay.
They spent 2 nights on Mackinac Island, and I'm Googling this right now just to verify it. They were in Mackinac Island, but they did not actually get the permissions to go and do a formal investigation of the Grand Hotel. And that's the place where I think they would be very open to that, especially in the winter when everything's shut down.
You mentioned earlier that you had another incident in New Orleans similar to the Edgar Allan Poe incident. I'm curious to hear what that is all about.
Well, if you're going to give me the mic, I'm going to have to really be very respectful of your time. And
well, go right ahead.
Well, New Orleans is since the first time I visited it, it is my promised land, because for those that may not have been there before, I've been to several large cities in the U.S., except New York. That's one I haven't visited yet. But I'm telling you, New Orleans has that palpable electric atmosphere. And to make a long story short, there's several experiences there. I mean, there's the very church itself, St. Louis Cathedral, which is a basilica. Pope John Paul has visited there, is constructed of the very stones that were used to execute people in the courtyard right in front of the church back in the 1700s. It's home to the oldest church. The oldest tavern not in the United States, but in the South. And they only light it by candlelight. I mean, it lends itself to all of that. But I've been to one of what's reported to be Marie Laveau's houses before, and I never had any negative reaction. On my 5th visit, when I went last spring, while I was in the house of Marie Laveau, the workers actually thought I had stumbled, and they're worried I had hurt myself. But what had actually happened is there was such a strong presence the last time I was in her house, or what they say could have been her daughter's house, that I fell back twice. And I thought, well, maybe I'm dehydrated. And I'm like, get a hold of yourself. No, you don't. Don't be making a scene like you're a hysteric or like you're drunk, like everybody else is. It's noon.
Right.
So there's there's 2 rooms to it, and it's obviously a very old, unstable building. But it happened again, and the second time it happened, it meant business, and it was not a nice entity. It was something dark, and it scared me because prior to that, I'd really enjoyed the city, but encountering that much of a pushback that would actually have a physical result, I had never experienced. And again, broad daylight, no lights out and shining flashlights under our faces and trying to scare each other. This is broad daylight, and I'm getting excited, wanting to buy my tchotchkes and souvenirs. And in that house, I, again, almost knocked down. But I don't
I'm really glad. Well, I'm glad you mentioned New Orleans, because that is like probably one of my most favorite places in the whole world. St. Louis, the St. Louis Cathedral, all of it. Jackson Square, the cemeteries. They are just it's the whole French Quarter.
Isn't
just
it amazing,
oozes.
Lucy?
It is fantastic.
Anybody that's into the paranormal, if you want to really just go to a city that's alive with it, I would say go to New Orleans. When you walk the streets at night, you wonder if you're walking among the dead, the living, the undead. It's a very unusual place, and it's hard to explain unless you've been there.
You have to be there.
You do. You can't. It's really hard to talk about. And don't go during Mardi Gras, because that's just a distraction. I always go in the down season because there's so many hidden pockets. There's one more place. A lot of people will tour St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, maybe Lafayette Cemetery in the Garden District. I mean, they're just so beautiful, and there's so much to be learned from those experiences. They just reopened after Hurricane Katrina the Oddfellows Cemetery, and that's off the beaten path. I have a friend that lives over just outside of the French Quarter and the Business District, not quite Tremé. And the Oddfellows Cemetery, I'm trying to see how they have it online. It's actually now a coffee house and a botanica, and you can buy your iced coffee drink and stroll through this cemetery that had been kind of let go to ruin. Members of the Oddfellows, their families got together and raised enough money to restore a lot of these above-ground burial vaults. And it's an absolutely beautiful place. You're free to walk around. Of course, people are respectful of the tombs and of the dead, and of the tombs that are maybe in disrepair, but there's nobody breathing down the back of your neck, and there's a lot of latitude to really enjoy yourself and kind of experience the energy that's there, and maybe commune with the dead a little bit, if that's your thing.
Well, that's great.
Thank you so much.
Is there a website that we can promote from you?
Actually, there is. My website is just my first name and last name, noahtysick.com, and if you don't mind, I can just type it in.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody, if you can you can put a face with the name and maybe even shoot me an email of hello and follow me on Twitter if you want, and I'll follow you back. But thank you guys so much, and I look forward to hearing other people's stories tonight.
Great.
Thank you so
much, Noah. We appreciate you sharing your stories tonight. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. That was great. Okay, we have Joe Dog up. Hello, Joe. You're on the air with Lucy and Anthony.
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Hi,
how are
Joe.
you?
Okay. Can you
got
hear
a
me?
story to share with us? Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm calling through Skype, and I don't get any talk back through my headset, so I don't know if you're hearing me or not. So
we got you.
It's confusing. I don't even know if I'm going out. Okay. Have y'all seen the episode of Ghost Adventurers and Ghost Hunters at the Hales Bar Dam in Tennessee?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think I have, no.
Well, I will tell you this. I led the first team to ever investigate that place.
Really?
Yes.
That place is crazy.
Have you been there?
No, never been there.
You need to go. I promise you.
What are some of the stories? What are some of the reports?
Okay. The history of the dam, it was started in 1905, finished up in 1913 when it opened up. It was the first dam of its type actually in the world. It was hydroelectric and navigational on the Tennessee River. Geographically, it was the perfect place to put the dam. It was about 15, 20 miles downriver from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Geologically, it was the worst place to put the dam because of the limestone rock. The dam almost failed 3 or 4 times in its lifespan. And this thing was built before the Tennessee Valley Authority, is how old this dam is.
Wow.
And when TVA came into effect, TVA took over the dam in the late 30s. And they tried to save the dam, but in the early 60s they decided it was more hassle than it was worth to continue, trying to keep plugging the holes. Rather, they built Nickajack Dam about 4 or 5 miles downstream from that, and pretty much dismantled the floodgates. The powerhouse is still there. The underground tunnels are still there, and as in all sorts of big early turn of the century, early 1900 construction projects, there was the poor soul that fell into the concrete while it was being poured, got sucked under, couldn't be found, and was buried in the dam.
Wow.
And, that was some of the stories there. But, okay, who is the lady here with you?
Lucy.
Lucy. Okay. Lucy, did you remember seeing in Ghost Adventurers when they got the little shadow figure on the catwalk?
Right.
I've seen that with my own eyes.
Awesome.
Really?
Awesome.
I have. I mean, when they showed that, I'm up in my living room dancing, going, yes, I saw that. I saw that. The guy who has a name of the paper is what he's called by the people there at the Hales Bar Dam.
Were you ever able to capture anything, any EVPs or anything on video?
I can't find the video now. I have turned my tapes upside down. I've turned my download files upside down. I don't know where I did with it. I use my favorite EMF detector is the classic 822 that is used by all the teams on the TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little stand that you can flip out and set it on the floor, and it sits propped up. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. In a certain part of the tunnels, you can set your 822 on the floor, shine your flashlight on it so you can read it, and ask questions. And it will raise and lower upon request.
Really?
Yes.
You know what, Joe? Susan in the chat room was asking about the Cherokee burial site that was flooded there. Did you guys did you get any activity?
Okay, that Cherokee burial site is actually more upstream, closer to Chattanooga.
Okay.
So I've never been there.
Okay.
And the cemetery that was flooded was actually flooded when they created Nickajack Dam downstream, and that's how that came into it.
Okay.
So when was the last time that you were there, Joe?
It was before the Ghost Adventurers came in and did the thing, and once a site gets like that, I lose interest in it. You know,
it becomes a tourist attraction.
A tourist attraction, and I'm not there for the tourist attraction. I'm there for the research.
Right.
Joe, did you feel anything negative there? I mean, I know the show kind of like pointed towards malevolent spirits there, but did you feel any negativity or anything like that?
I never felt any negativity. I was tapped on the shoulder twice.
Okay.
And actually I heard, hey, like somebody going, hey, walked up behind you, hey, how you doing? And, I was up on the balcony area. Did you, when they turned around and showed the balcony area, if you remember that? Yeah, I almost pushed my lead investigator over that rail when that happened, because I was supposed to be at the end of the line, and I knew where everybody else was, and heard, hey. I mean, I almost went ninja on a ghost. Because I wasn't expecting that. I was tapped on the shoulder and turned and said yes to an investigator standing next to me who, with his left hand, was still holding his voice recorder. And It was like, huh? Okay, who just tapped me on the shoulder? Because I'm usually standing at the back of the line.
Right.
So how impressive is that whirlpool that's in there?
Oh, I love the whirlpool. The whirlpool is created was created when they dismantled the dam. They pulled the generators out. Actually, the two generators that came out of that section where the pool is are still in use today down at Nickajack Dam. That is where the intake for the generators is. That's what caused that.
Mm-hmm. So you think all that flowing water helps to bring those spirits out?
Actually, I've got a friend who is the biggest paranormal skeptic in the world. He's a great friend. He actually runs a publishing company out in Memphis, Tennessee. I took him out there, and he goes, "Oh, my God, this is the paranormal nexus."
Mm-hmm.
You've got the running water.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the limestone from, the geology. Then you've got the concrete made out of the limestone, which has some type of quartz in it. And it is a paranormal nexus.
Right, and you've got the history of the guy falling into the wet cement, so you've got pretty much the trifecta there.
Yes, it's awesome.
You've investigated other locations? Is this one sort of the tops on your list, or is there another one that you can think of?
As far as places I want to go back, yes. Hales Bar Marina, Hales Bar Dam. I'm going to cheat real quick. I've got their website. It's halesbarmarina.com/haunted.php.
Okay.
That's their website for so they can tell you how to book tours and all that. That is the one place I would love to go back, just because of all the cool things that have happened. I've never experienced the negativity. Actually, one of the first EVPs that we ever pulled out of there is, I got to remember, I had like 5 of them we had like 5 EVPs hit in about a 4-minute span. The first one is, shh, hush, they're coming, as we were coming in.
So intelligent, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, we were the first group there. So they were as interested in us as we were in them.
Right.
And one of the guys that was sitting there got just a hair pulled on his arm. And he jumped up and went, good grief, what was that? The EVP that came after that is, oh, we can have fun with this.
I love it.
I love it.
So if you, I really believe if you go to Hales Bar and you go in, remember you're in southern Tennessee, and at a time when all this was going on, pre-electricity and horse and buggy era, when this dam was built. What's the one thing you need to do with Southerners? You need to treat them with respect. If you treat them with respect, they're your friend for life. You cross them up, they'll make you go away.
Wow, that's excellent.
Joe, have you ever, I don't know the Tennessee location and the cities and where they're located around each other, but I've heard a lot about Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. Have you ever...
It is 15.1 miles from driveway to driveway.
Wow, you got the exact miles. I love it.
I was actually in the first group at the time when that was my first investigation I ever went on.
Really?
That was I've been there a few times. You know, again, before it became a tourist attraction.
Right. I've heard so much about that place, and it's sort of on my short list to go and investigate. I think it's a great place, and maybe while we're out there, you can always just pop over to Hales Bar Dam and check that out as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's 15.1 miles from driveway to driveway.
Well, that's great, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And what's your group name?
My group name we've disbanded, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them have gone on. Some have formed. Well, actually, a lot of my old team members are part of the haunted management of Hales Bar.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah. Yeah, I love Hales Bar, and it's great. They've actually got a convention coming up in October the weekend of October 12th out there, a paranormal convention. So that's something y'all might want to check into also.
Well, send us the link on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Just hit them up again. It's halesbarmarina.com /hauntedphp, and they'll give you everything you need. There's phone numbers there. They even have overnight lodging right there on site. So And
perfect.
Those are awesome. The cabins actually are boats that float out on the river.
Oh, how fun.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, I will let
you so much, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight.
All right.
Take
bye.
care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That
That's
sounds
great.
like fun.
That does, and I don't know why for the life of me I cannot remember that episode of Ghost Adventures.
That's Aaron was the one that saw the apparition up on the catwalk. They sent him up there by himself.
When they had the? Is that when they had the thermal camera? Oh,
yes.
Okay. Now I remember. I remember. Okay. All right. So the calling line is empty right now. We had a couple of drop-offs. So if anybody wants to call out there and share some of your stories, some of your investigative stories, give us a call, 661-244-9831. So in the meantime, Lucy, why don't you pick one of the top 10 famous haunted locations that's on our list to talk about tonight?
Okay, let me see which one we need to go to. I think, well, I have to start with the first one on my list, which is in my own backyard. It's Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Midlothian, Illinois. I was finally able to bring Anthony to this site recently for an investigation. This is just outside Chicago, and it's in Midlothian, Illinois. It's called one of the most haunted cemeteries in the United States. This old abandoned graveyard is the site of more unexplained paranormal activities than any other cemetery in the U.S. and maybe in the world. The cemetery's first burial was back in 1844. In the early half of the 20th century, the Midlothian Turnpike ran right past the cemetery, over a stream, and beyond. Now, today, the broken road, it appears to end right at the cemetery gates, but you actually can see the remains of the road in the woods that's just past the actual graveyard. This road was closed in the 1960s, and that's when the trouble started. Now, according to the Chicago Tribune, the body of a teenage girl was found in the woods in 1966, and in 1988, a man who had been murdered by a former girlfriend was found in that cemetery. Now, along with these gruesome incidents, grave desecration began by partygoers who found the site appealing. The bodies were dug up, animals were sacrificed, and headstones were either moved or stolen. And then the ghost came. Now, one of the most controversial sightings here involves a phantom house. There are stories from dozens of eyewitnesses who claim they've seen a white farmhouse complete with a glowing light in the window at various places in the woods alongside this trail. However, there are no property records that even exist to suggest there was a house there. Now, in spite of no record of any homes, you can actually see the cement foundation of a house in the woods. There are actually two foundations, one's east of the cemetery and one west of it. But as far as ghosts go, one of the most well-known apparitions is called the White Lady, or the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove. Now, the cemeteries in the Chicagoland area, we all seem to have a female ghost who's searching for a lost child. But the White Lady was actually photographed sitting on a headstone in the graveyard, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this photo. Now, there's actually a headstone in the cemetery that belongs to an unnamed infant daughter. And this actually supports the story of the White Lady searching for her child. Now, myself, I heard the cry of a child come through my spirit box along with several other voices responding to the questions that we were asking on one of my many trips there. One of the voices was definitely female. Now, other visitors have reported seeing orbs, ghost lights, and there are tons of EVPs. Now, there's a pond that is right next to the cemetery, and it's got its own share of legends. Now, stories say that it was one of the hundreds of places that are scattered around Illinois where mobsters dumped their victims during the Roaring '20s. Now, one of these victims apparently grew a second head and has been known to crawl out of the water. A few years ago, a policeman reportedly saw the apparition of a horse followed by a man in a plow actually walk out of the pond and go across 143rd Street. Now, the ghost is said to belong to a farmer who drowned in that pond when his horse decided to take a swim. There have been sightings of disappearing cars, Sometimes they're the sleek black 1920 and 30 styles. And there are many reports of the sounds of car doors slamming all along this stretch of 143rd Street, which is right next to the cemetery. Now, the vandalism has tricked off, and sadly, there's not much left to vandalize, thanks to Cook County sheriffs who clear this area every evening at sundown. So if you do get a chance to visit Bachelor's Grove, do it during the day. Don't forget to bring your spirit box, because even though those headstones are gone, there are many, many unseen spirits who are there who want to speak with you. And trust me, they will.
You know, when we went there, what was it, 4 weeks ago? I think it was about 4 weeks ago. I don't consider myself a sensitive or anything like that, but there are some locations where I've gone to, one in which was the Otesaga Hotel, where Nina will remember this, and she's listening. I believe she's in the chat room right now, where I got like a feeling, sort of chills down my back, walking into a room. And shortly thereafter, we had captured K2 hits, and then Nina actually saw a black shadow go across the bedroom of the hotel room in the Otesaga Hotel. But there was that place. The Bobby Mackey's was the other one where I got a sort of feeling from. And this place, believe it or not. And Lucy, I think if you remember, when we first got there, you were drawn, I think it was, what was it, towards the edge of the pond area?
Yeah, I wanted to go towards the pond.
And I think that's where
then
you
I
had
asked
originally...
You where, that's where I first got the cry of the baby.
Right. You originally got the cry of the baby there, and you wanted to go and see if you can capture it again. But while we were standing there, I wasn't feeling anything in that spot, and I don't think we were getting anything as far as EVPs or anything like that. But I had a sense, and it was towards the middle of the cemetery, and we moved towards the middle of the cemetery. I didn't get a feeling of anything negative, but I got a feeling of people or spirits there sort of watching, sort of hiding and looking. You know, there's several trees in that area. There's not that many headstones, but there are, you know, several huge ones, and there are many trees. And I remember just that feeling as though somebody's sort of hiding behind a tree, looking and just watching and staring at you and just sort of gazing and trying to figure out who you are or what are you doing here. And again, that was the only feeling that I had gotten. But when I went home, I was reviewing all the evidence and all the recording EVPs or recordings that we got, and I got one EVP. And Lucy, remember I told you about this. It was it's hard to hear because again you're right next to, what is that, a highway? That's right there, Lucy?
Yeah, it's 143rd Street. It's a 4-lane street.
Right. And, you know, they've got cars whizzing by, and so you hear that in the background. It's very hard to sort of record in an atmosphere like that. Plus, you're outside. That makes it doubly hard. And it was very cold that day and a little bit windy. So the recorder sort of picked up on a lot of that. But I was able to, in between all of that, actually capture a voice that said, "Go away." And I have to try and get some software to try and see if I can clean it up to hear it better. I can hear it. If I record it and put it online, like on our Facebook page, it's very difficult to hear it. You can actually hear it directly from the recorder. So, Lucy, when we go on our investigation next week, I'll actually bring it so that you can hear it with your own ears. Okay. And I just thought that I thought that was amazing. I don't believe, not that I don't believe, but I don't like to investigate cemeteries so much. I feel as though you don't get so many spirits in the location because, again, like Lucy was talking about in the very beginning, you know, spirits are tied to places. They have some sort of connection to it. And I don't feel spirits have a connection to cemeteries. It's a place that they sort of don't want to be reminded of themselves of being dead. And so, to me, you know, I know other people disagree with that, but that's the way I feel about cemeteries. But I was pretty shocked to one, catch that feeling of some presence in the area, and then also catching that EVP. So thank you, Lucy, for taking me there.
Well, the only thing I did notice, and I was a little bit disappointed, is that usually when we've gone there in the past, when I've been there in the past, there was a lot of activity. And I do kind of feel like they kind of know who I am because I go there a lot. And I just had the feeling like I brought someone new to that, and I really honestly feel like they were checking you out. They didn't know who you were, and they didn't know what you were about.
Probably.
That's the feeling I got.
Noah's asking in the chat room if I've ever used Audacity for EVPs. I have. I actually don't like Audacity. It's a very crude piece of software, and I guess because it's free, you don't really get the best use out of a EVP or a recording software to be able to clear up. I have Pinnacle right now on my laptop, and I've used that, and it actually does have some sort of bells and whistles on there to actually clear up voices in all of my recordings. But I know from talking with Mark and Debbie Constantino, and they've given us some advice on some software, which we'll probably share with you guys later on, that I'm going to try and go out. It's just some of them are a little bit costly. So,
so Anthony, do we have a caller, or do you want to pick something from our top 10?
All right, I'm going to pick one of my favorite places in the entire nation, the entire U.S. Lucy, can you guess what it is? Which one do you think? Which one do you think I'm going to pick tonight to talk about? Well, one of them.
Let me see. Eastern State Penitentiary.
Well, that is a good one, but this one that I want to talk about, we have not investigated yet, or will be. Yes, Villisca Axe Murder House. I am dying to go to this place. Dying, no pun intended. To go to this place because I have just, from watching all of the sci-fi channels and the documentaries on this place, I think it is just a hotbed of activity, and I can't wait to go there. And so my first pick for the top 10 is Villisca Axe Murder House. And there's an old white framed house sitting in a quiet neighborhood in Villisca, Iowa, which is also known as the Axe Murder House. Many people to this day believe that something or someone still wanders through the house. This place has a sad history, and I don't mean to sort of thrive on that, but it happened. I can't do anything about it. But I'm so fascinated and drawn to this one particular location that I believe that once we do go there, and I believe we're going there in August to we're going in August to hopefully capture some really great stuff, and I think this place will not disappoint us. So, many people to this day believe that something or someone still wanders through the house, and children's voices can be heard all over the empty house, and there are as well strange objects moving on their own accord. There's also a door that opens and closes mysteriously, and I believe that's on the second floor in one of the children's bedrooms. A well-respected businessman in the community named Josiah Moore occupied the house with his family in 1912. On a summer night in June of that year, there was a horrible crime committed to this day has never been solved. A stranger broke into the Moore family home and murdered everyone, including 2 guests that were staying the night. A total of 8 innocent victims had their skulls crushed in with an axe while they slept that night. Josiah Moore and his wife, as well as their 3 young children, were found killed in the upstairs bedroom of the home. The bodies of their 2 house guests were also found murdered in the downstairs bedroom, which were also the children's 2 friends. After the murders, there was a write-up in the local newspaper which reported that the bloody axe that was found in the room had appeared to be the murder weapon. Not only were all of the curtains closed tight, but all of the doors were locked as well. Even though the crime has yet to be solved, at the time it happened, there were several suspects. And another interesting fact that I've learned along the way about this home is all of the mirrors in the home were covered. They were either covered with sheets or towels or blankets. And I know that there are folks that have run the muck with trying to figure out what that all meant and sort of the mindset of why the killer would do that. But some residents of the local community believe the killer to be a traveling preacher named Reverend Kelly. He was arrested and charged with the crime in 1917. He allegedly even confessed, but the case was dismissed by the local courts. Other people of this sleepy residential town believed the killer to be a wayward traveler or a serial killer who was passing through. In 1930, reports of paranormal activity in the house started when a pair of newlyweds came and rented the property. Homer and Bonnie Rittner, sadly, Homer actually just passed away, I believe it was mid-last year, said that they saw a ghostly apparition of a man sleeping at the foot of their bed, and that they also heard strange noises and footsteps all over the house with no logical explanation for them. When the Rittners complained of this phenomenon to their neighbors and members of the local community, they were told about the dark and grave history of the house. After that, they refused to sleep in the house but set up a bedroom in the barn instead. These strange occurrences continued to happen, with doors randomly swinging back and forth throughout the house. They would close the door only to have it open right up again in front of their eyes. In the 1970s, a local bank bought the house and used it as a rental property. There were reports of renters being awoken by the sound of crying children in the night. They would find their clothes thrown all over the room and their dresser drawers pulled open. Another popular tale is that of a skeptical renter who was sharpening his knife. It somehow mysteriously flew out of his hand and stabbed him in the eye. Since that incident, people believe that the house is haunted. And like I said before, I can't wait till we go there in August, which is my birthday present.
You know what? I out of all these places, this one place actually, I really have butterflies. I mean, I'm really apprehensive about going there. I mean, I know we're going to get activity because we always get activity, but I am so anxious to get there. I really, really want to get there.
Yeah, I'm truly excited about this, and we don't have any callers, so what are you guys doing in the chat room? Come on. Stop talking to each other and call in to us and talk about some of your locations, some places that you guys have been to. The number is 661-244-9831. So, Lucy, why don't you go on to your next top 10?
Okay. This one really intrigued me when I was doing the research on it, and the whole story, whether or not it's true or not, there are questions whether or not the actual story really did happen. But this is the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Now, this was built back in 1794, and Myrtles Plantation has been called probably one of the most haunted homes in America. It was originally called Laurel Grove, and this home has seen its share of sadness, death, and tragedy. Illness and murder have occurred there. The Civil War took its toll on the place, too. The home has been looted by soldiers, but eventually this plantation recovered. Now, in the 1950s, the family sold the plantation, and the ghost stories began. The most famous story of the Myrtles is that of Chloe. Now, Chloe was a slave who allegedly murdered the wife and the two daughters of the owner in 1817. She had an affair with Clark Woodruff while his wife was pregnant. Now, Chloe wasn't particularly happy about the affair, but it kept her from having to work in the fields, so she suffered through Woodruff's sexual demands on her. Woodruff became tired of Chloe and started up with another household servant. Chloe was afraid that she would be sent back to the fields, so she would eavesdrop on the family's conversations. She was caught, and one of her ears was cut off as punishment. Now, in order to hide this, she wore a green turban most of the time. Now, during this time, the family members, including the two daughters, would become sick, and Chloe would always be the one that was able to nurse them back to health. That is, until she made a birthday cake for one of the daughters that contained just a little bit too much poison. She had mixed crushed oleander flowers into the flour of the cake, and oleander is very, very poisonous to humans. By the end of the evening, the mother and her two daughters were dead. Now, the other slaves, fearing that they would be punished for the deaths, actually dragged Chloe from her room, and they hanged her from a nearby tree. Now, since Chloe's death, she has been seen on the plantation, and there actually is a photograph of her standing in between two buildings with that green turban. She's been seen wandering around the plantation, and sometimes the cries of children are heard when she appears. Now, she's seen by visitors who wake up to see Chloe looking at them while she stands next to their beds. Now, in addition to Chloe, there are reports of children who are seen playing on the veranda. The grand piano in the home plays by itself. Furniture is mysteriously moved back to its original spot whenever it's rearranged. Now, there's a large mirror on the first floor that when it's photographed, handprints appear in the mirror. They actually seem to be inside the glass. Now, add to all of this activity the footsteps on the stairs, smells, objects that vanish only to be found elsewhere, and you have what sounds like a paranormal investigator's dream. I am definitely adding this site to my list of places that we have to go. I mean, it just sounds amazing.
It does. I mean, our list keeps growing and growing and growing. We have to find more time. I'm getting word that there may be a possible issue with the phone lines, and that's the reason why there are no callers. So I apologize to everybody who's trying to call in. I have not been given word from Blog Talk Radio, so I don't know what the issue is, but maybe if you keep trying in, maybe the jam will unjam, and hopefully you guys can get through. So for right now, we're going to continue with just reading off to you guys our list of sort of the top 10s haunted locations across the nation, as well as sort of the lower 10 of places that you may not know about that really do deserve some sort of attention, research, and possible investigation. So, Lucy, I'm going to go to the Whaley House. The Whaley House in San Diego, California. Few houses in San Diego are as historically important as the Whaley House. In addition to being the Whaley family home, it housed a granary, the county courthouse, San Diego's first commercial theater, various businesses including Thomas Whaley's own general store, a ballroom, a billiard hall, school, and a polling place. Significant events such as the seizure of the court documents and records in 1871 and the suicide of Violet Whaley in 1885 profoundly affected Thomas and Anna Whaley. In addition, there were the hangings which occurred on the property before the house was constructed. According to the Travel Channel's America's Most Haunted, the house is the #1 most haunted house in the United States. The alleged hauntings of the Whaley House have been reported on numerous other television programs and have been written up in countless publications and books since the house first opened as a museum in 1960. Although we cannot state positively that the Whaley House is really haunted, the vast amounts of documentation of paranormal occurrences at the site makes a compelling case. But if there are ghosts at the Whaley House, who are they and why are they here? Excuse me. The earliest documented ghost at the Whaley House is Yankee Jim. James, a.k.a. Santiago Robinson, was convicted of attempted grand larceny in San Diego in 1852 and hanged on the gallows off the back of a wagon on the site where the house now stands. The local newspaper reported that he kept his feet in the wagon as long as possible, but was finally pulled off it. He swung back and forth like a pendulum until he strangled to death. Ah, what a sight. Although Thomas Whaley had been a spectator at the execution, he did not let it dissuade him from buying the property a few years later and building a home for his family there. According to the San Diego Union, soon after the couple and their children moved in, heavy footsteps were heard moving about the house. Whaley described them as sounding as though that they were made by the boots of a large man. Finally, he came to the conclusion that these unexplained footfalls were made by Yankee Jim Robinson. Another source states that Lillian Whaley, the Whaley's youngest daughter, who lived in the house until 1953, had been convinced the ghost of Yankee Jim haunted the old house. A visitor to the museum in 1962 mentioned that the ghost had driven her family from their visit there more than 60 years earlier. Her mother was unnerved by the phantom walking noise and the strange way the windows unlatched and flew open. Many visitors to the house have reported encountering Thomas Whaley himself. The late June Redding, former curator of the museum, said, "We had a little girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, who waved to a man she said was standing in the parlor. We couldn't see him, but often children's sensitivity is greater than an adult's. However, many adults have reported seeing the apparition of Mr. Whaley, usually on the upper landing. One said he was clad in frock coat and pantaloons. The face turned away from her, so she could not make it out. Suddenly it faded away." The specter of Anna Whaley has also been reported, usually in the downstairs rooms or in the garden. In 1964, Mrs. Whaley's floating, drifting spirit appeared to Regis Philbin. "All of a sudden, I noticed something on the wall," Philbin reported. "There was something filmy white. It looked like an apparition of some kind. I got so excited I couldn't restrain myself. I flipped on the flashlight and nothing was there but a portrait of Anna Whaley, the long-dead mistress of the house." Other visitors have described seeing or sensing the presence of a woman in the courtroom. "I see a small figure of a woman," one visitor said, "who is a swarthy complexion. She is wearing a long, full skirt reaching to the floor. The skirt appears to be calico or gingham, small print. She has a kind of cap on her head, dark hair and eyes, and she's wearing gold hoops in her pierced ears. She seems to stay in this room, lives there, I gather. None of the Whaleys fit this description, but the house was rented out to numerous tenants over the years. Perhaps the mysterious woman in the courtroom was one of these." Another presence reported by visitors in Dawson's is that of a young girl who is usually found in the dining room. Psychic Sybil Leek encountered this spirit during a visit in the 1960s. "It was a long-haired girl," Sybil said. "She was very quick, in a longish dress. She went to the table in this room, and I went to the chair. Urban legend has it that this is the ghost of a playmate of the Whaley children who accidentally broke her neck on a low-hanging clothesline in the backyard, and whose name was either Annabelle or Carrie Wershborn. There are no historic records of any child dying this way at the Whaley house, nor is there a record of any family named Washburn residing in San Diego at the time. It's believed that the legend was started by one-time employee of the Whaley house in an effort to add to the house's mystique. Even animals aren't left out of the singular occurrences. A parapsychologist reported he saw a spotted dog, like a fox terrier, that ran down the hall with his ears flapping and into the dining room. The dog, he said, was an apparition. When they lived in the house, the Whaleys owned a terrier named Dolly Varden. The Whaley house stands silently watching over San Diego Avenue as it has done for a century and a half. Every day visitors come from around the world to tour the historic museum. It contains so much history within its walls that even the non-believer will enjoy the tour. For believers and skeptics alike, the house draws them back time and again in search of these elusive ghosts. As Regis Philbin once said, a lot of people poo-poo it because they can't see it. But there was something going on in that house. And, I guess if Regis Philbin says they poo-poo it, then you got to poo-poo it.
You know what? Everything I've read about that place, it's supposed to be really, really haunted. But you know what really kind of unnerves me is when they mention spirits of children. It just really, it just gives me that little chill, because I find it so hard to believe that a child would stay.
Yeah, and if you remember quite vividly the interview that we had with Mark and Debbie Constantino, they brought up 2 points, and it's funny how Debbie had one view and Mark had one view. And Debbie's view was, I believe in everything. I'm going to, take these children and take them home with me so that they're safe. And Mark's view, which I sort of gravitate to, you have to be leery about it because you don't know what spirits are, and, a lot of demon spirits or evil spirits come through as children as to seem innocent enough so that they sort of get your attention and let you or make you lower your guard so that they can do whatever they want to do, either, come in contact with you, take your energy, take over your body. So you really have to be careful whenever you hear stories about children's spirits. They could be children's spirits, or they could just be sort of the devil in disguise. And I wholeheartedly feel that folks out there who are investigating to be careful whenever you do come in contact with that.
Well, you know what? When we're at Rolling Hills, I still say that what we felt in that basement, it felt to me like a young child, and he was the one that was turning on the flashlight on and off, and he got to me. I mean, I felt bad leaving him there, you know. So I'm falling into that category where it's like, yeah, I believe everything.
So, all right, so why don't you, I don't know if you want to go into your other top 10, or do you want to go into some of your lesser-known ones?
Well, I want to do one from the top 10 because I feel like we have to mention this one. It's the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, okay? High up in the thin air of the Rocky Mountains is probably one of the most beautiful haunted sites in the United States. Now, this was built by Freeland Oscar Stanley of the Stanley Steamer fame, and the hotel opened in 1909, and it actually was for the rich and famous of the day. And this hotel was the inspiration for Stephen King's novel, The Shining, after he spent the night in room 217 in an almost empty hotel the night before it closed for the season. This hotel is so full of activity, not only in the rooms, but in the halls, the ballroom, the basement, so many of the buildings. When we got there, the minute you walk in there, you can just feel it. It's like... It's unlike any other place. You can feel the eyes watching you as you check in, as you settle into your room. You can feel the history. This building is alive. There's so many hot spots in this hotel. I'm just going to mention a few of them. And I have to start with room 217. In room 217, the Stanley's power had gone out, so a chambermaid named Elizabeth Wilson went to room 217 to light a lamp. However, the gas had been on for quite some time, so when she tried to light the lamp, she was blown out of the room, and she actually sustained broken ankles, both of them. Mr. Stanley allowed Elizabeth and her children to live in the hotel until she died. Today, people report hearing Elizabeth in room 217. Stephen King checked into room 17. He left his luggage in the room. He never bothered to open it and never bothered to hang up his clothing. He left the room for the evening, but when he came back, he found all of his clothing had been hung up. Now, during the filming of Dumb and Dumber, actor Jim Carrey checked into room 217. He stayed a total of 3 hours in the room before he checked out to go stay at another hotel. Now, during our own stay at the Stanley, thanks to Anthony, I was lucky enough to sleep in room 217. I used my spirit box. I had a conversation with a male spirit named Philip. He had a British accent. He loved music, and he actually made the room warmer after I asked him to make it warmer because it was just cold. It was freezing cold. The next morning, I explained to Philip that a tour would be coming through the room because we were there on a group event, and I apologized in advance in case he would be disturbed. Well, Philip didn't respond to me during through the spirit box, but a woman's voice came through that spirit box, and it said, "That's ridiculous." So I truly believe that Mrs. Wilson wasn't very happy. There's room 401. Now, this is the room where Lord Dunraven, who was the original owner of the property, he's been seen standing in the closet when the door is opened. He was a man of questionable moral character. So females that stay in this room have actually reported feeling an unseen hand pinching their butts. There's room 1302. Now, this is the room where the table has been filled moving during one of the reality shows. Intelligent EVPs have been captured in this room, and our group actually heard words come out of an ovulus that Bill Chappell, the inventor of the device, confirmed were never programmed into it. We had a spirit call us names in this room. Our flashlight turned on and off on command, and I got the chance to stay in this room too, but the table wouldn't move for me. Trust me, I asked it quite a bit. But there are so many rooms and places in this wonderful place that have activity. You can hear Mrs. Stanley playing the piano in the ballroom on the first floor, but you just can't see her. When people go into the room, there's nothing there. The basement has a tunnel that leads to an outside building where the servants used to stay. Now, this tunnel has an amazing amount of activity. You can see shadow figures. You can get EVPs down there. Room 418 is another room on the 4th floor that has quite a bit of activity. Now, the sounds of children can be heard in this room and in the hallway. This entire 4th floor is where the servants' quarters were. It's extremely active. I could keep going on, but I'm going to stop now. This is another site that every paranormal investigator has to see and experience at least once. I'm going to treasure our own visit there. To me, it's a very special place.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to actually stay overnight in all 4 of the rooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly.
Yes, we did.
All 4 of the supposed main haunted hotel rooms in both the main hotel and then I can't remember what they called that the side one. That was the one that I actually had the room in. There's the sort of, I guess, quote-unquote secondary part of the hotel. It's sort of off to the side, and that's where room 1302 is. And, to me it was amazing. Now, I'm noticing, Lucy, in the chat room that Justin and Susan Jackson are talking about the Stanley sort of closing its doors to any paranormal investigations. I heard that too. I heard that yesterday and today, mostly on Facebook, but it's not true. We've heard that the owners don't know where that rumor started, and they're actually happy to, and are actually encouraging folks to come in and do it, to do paranormal investigations. They may close it down at certain points and not accept it because there may be conventions or other things that are going on at the time, because when you do a paranormal investigation overnight in the location, you basically are almost shutting the whole entire hotel down. I remember, Lucy, you remember when we did it, there were other folks occupying the other rooms, but what they had to do was shut off the lighting in the hallways.
Right.
And they left the exit sign lights on, and sometimes it's a little disturbing for the hotel guests there who are just wanting to, rest and sleep for the night, to then have to hear sort of, investigators out in the hallway trying to search for ghosts. But so they may be just sort of, shutting the doors a little bit here and there throughout the seasons, but it is not true. I've heard that they are not permitting. They are actually encouraging it, and they want it. I mean, it's money for them. So.
And it's someplace that everybody has to go. You have to go there. If you haven't been there, you have to go there. So, can we get to any of our callers? Because I'm seeing in the chat room here, it looks like they're in queue. Are they coming through? Or?
No, they're not coming through. I think there's still something wrong with the phone lines, and again, I apologize for that. It's not our doing. It must be something that Blog Talk is going through right now. But if you've got a question or something, maybe post it in the chat room there, and maybe we can try and answer them. Why don't we get to some of the lesser-known ones?
Okay. How about, do you have one that you want to?
I do. We talked about this one place before, and again, it's another place that we've investigated at, but a lot of people don't know it, and we actually, and I hate to keep bringing this up again, but we brought it up at the Mark and Debbie interview, and it's Sedamsville Rectory. You remember this, Lucy?
Yes, I do.
This place was amazing, and it was the same weekend that we did Bobby Mackey's. It was the first night over the long weekend we did Bobby Mackey's. I think it was the Saturday night, and then Sedamsville Rectory, we did it on the Sunday night. And before going in, I don't know what your thoughts were, Lucy, but before going to Sedamsville, the rectory and the church, I thought it was going to be a waste of time. I thought it really was not going to be active at all, and I thought, it was just a waste of a night. What were your thoughts before going?
I really didn't know anything about it, and I didn't expect it that much, but boy, was I surprised. I really was, but I'm very glad that we did our research, because I think, highlighting how important research is, I think our research really helped us to get evidence. Don't you think?
One of the things that that we did, and I encouraged to do this, and I know, Lucy, you probably were not happy that I did this, but I brought with me 2 outfits, and they were priest and monk costumes. I figured we're going to a church and rectory. You might as well bring something to stir the pot a little bit, And another investigator and I put on the costumes, and we went down into the basement. And the other investigator had a Bible that we borrowed from the hotel that we were staying at, and proceeded to read some Bible verses. And I think that may have been the trigger that started the amazing night that we had. I mean, I hate to say it, and I don't encourage people out there to do that because it is sort of disrespectful. But again, I was going in there feeling as though we weren't going to get anything, and so I'm thinking, what can I do to try and capture something, to try and bring them out? And, Lucy, you may yell at me for doing that, but what are your thoughts?
No, it worked. Honestly, I think it worked out well because what started out as kind of slow when we first got in there, I mean, I didn't feel anything. But then once you guys put the costumes on, that's when everything started happening. And I don't know, we heard what I've never heard before. We're all in the basement, and there was no one else in the house. We made sure the doors were locked. There was no one else in the house. We're in the basement. From the second floor, you could hear footsteps running across the floor. Literally, boom, 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 boom. And then after the footsteps, we heard a yell. I mean, the hair on my head stood up. It was probably the most amazing thing that I'd heard in this place. Not to mention the actual rectory itself, but when we went into the church itself, which we really shouldn't have been there. And I do caution everybody, just please be careful. This church is abandoned. There's holes in the floor. It is definitely, it's not a safe place. You have to be careful. And one thing that I have a tendency to do, and I will not do anymore, is go off by myself. You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
But, no, go ahead.
Getting back to what you were talking about, the experience that we heard while we were in the basement, the footsteps and the screams, or what we equated to as a man yelling, right, Lucy?
Yeah. That's
and
what it sounded like.
Right. It sounded like some sort of man yelling. Now, it is a rectory. It is on a street with other homes, and so as a paranormal investigator, you have to try and debunk it, right? And what we did was myself and another investigator went upstairs, and we went up to the first floor. We were originally in the basement. We went to the first floor. And the rest of the team and Lucy was downstairs in the basement, and what we did was run around on the first floor to see if we can match the sounds, just so that we can try and figure out where the noise was coming from, let alone what was it coming from. So once we did that, we ran around the first floor to see if the sounds, the stomping noises of the foot matched. We were told from our fellow investigators in the basement, Lucy, that it was not the sound, it was too loud. So what we did then was we proceeded then to go upstairs. And it was myself and another investigator. We walked up the stairs to the second floor and proceeded to run around on the second floor. And I think, if I remember correctly, Lucy, it was actually the sounds of us walking up the stairs to the second floor and walking right on that first landing part in Saddamsville Rectory that completely matched what we had heard. And we do have that somewhere on audio, I believe. But we finally were able to then capture and find where the noise was coming from. We also then decided to go outside, and there's a back porch, and then there's front steps to this place. we went to the back porch because we figured, you know what, it is a neighborhood. It is not so much of a well-known haunted location, but I'm sure the neighbors and everybody in that town know that investigators go there. So, you know, what better way for kids to have fun but to sort of spook the investigators? And we thought, you know, maybe some kids or somebody was sort of out on the back porch running around and doing this. So, again, we then proceeded to go out on the back porch, run around, and try and see if we can match the sounds again. And obviously everybody else that was inside in the basement said you could not hear a thing. And so we finally figured out that it was something walking either up to the stairs or walking on the second floor. Now, the yells, still to this day, I can hear it. And I'm not positively sure where it came from. You know, there's always still that little skepticism that I have that maybe it could have been from outside. But, again, the basement had no windows. It was solid, stone, I think, and brick?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right, it was all
building.
cement. Right, it was all cement and brick down there. So the only sounds that you could hear basically was anything that was contained within the home, within the house. And it wasn't just the first time we heard it, we actually heard it a couple of times. But let me just give you a little history of Saddamsville Rectory. It was built over 130 years ago and is listed on the National Historic Register. The Midwest Preservation Society is working hard to restore it back to its original condition. For the first time ever, the rectory is now available for overnight ghost hunts. With the facility being over 130 years old, we know that there are many stories to tell. The facility has over 6,000 square feet of space and had 4 levels. On the first level, it has a parlor, a living room, library, formal dining room, a kitchen, as well as a bathroom. The kitchen has a servant's staircase going up to the second level where the servants' quarters are located. The second level has 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and a beautiful staircase going to the first floor. It also has a staircase leading up to the huge attic. It is located near the servants' quarters. And, Lucy, what was the history on the attic? Do you remember?
No. Offhand, I can't remember. The attic was...
If you remember, the attic was I don't remember the time period, but the attic was turned into a school for children.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the children basically, I don't know how many, but the Catholic Church created as a school for children. I think they were young. I think they were maybe between 5 and 8. It was, early elementary schooling. And there are and have been reports of, 1 or 2 children that died on the premises? One was, I think, hung on the stairs of the rectory, the front stairs.
Yes.
And and I know that there may have been some sort of I think it was abuse to children from the priest. I think the tour guide, if you remember, Lucy, had told us sort of off the record that this rectory, this Saddamsville Rectory and Church, is the place where bad priests, for lack of a better word, were sent to. And this is basically where they were put. And so, you put in bad priest and a children's school, and, that's a pot that's going to boil.
Right. Yeah. It was supposed to be the rectory where priests that had questionable accusations were sent. And, that attic, when we were up there, when we were trying to get EVPs and that, there definitely was feeling up there. There definitely was a lot of unexplained noises, which would probably coincide with a child, checking us out. But there definitely was a definite feeling in that attic.
What do you have on your lesser-known locations list?
Let's see. On my lesser-known, I have the Devil's Den in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'm sure everybody knows about Gettysburg. The Devil's Den is actually one section of Gettysburg. It's a boulder-strewn battlefield hill that was used by artillery and infantry during the 1863 Battle of Gettysburg. Now, on July 1st, 1863, Confederate General Robert E. Lee led his troops from northern Virginia up into south central Pennsylvania to this small rural town, which is called Gettysburg. Now, he was confronted there by Union General George G. Meade, and although a scrimmage had not been planned, a 3-day battle suddenly began that was extremely violent and ultimately very bloody. This battle resulted in 51,000 American casualties, including one civilian casualty, a woman by the name of Jenny Wade, and she died when a stray bullet entered her window at the very beginning of the battle. It was a morbid massacre, and it is considered to be the turning point of the Civil War, even though the fighting would continue unabated for another 2 years. Now, because of the instances of brutal hand-to-hand combat and the high number of deaths, it is believed that nearly all 40 miles of the Gettysburg battlefield are ripe with paranormal activity. The Devil's Den is one of the most haunted places in Gettysburg. In fact, more ghosts of slain soldiers have been reported in the Devil's Den than in any other location in Gettysburg. Now, even without the ghosts, the Devil's Den is an eerie place because of the enormous boulders which cast shadows that seem to have been piled up by a giant. Now, when you actually go there, it's got a very unique layout. And the Confederate Army actually made use of sharpshooters who would hide behind these rocks and systematically shoot down hundreds of Union soldiers as they passed through the Devil's Den. Now, eventually the Union soldiers were able to use mirrors and field glasses to determine where the sharpshooters were. And after this battle in the Devil's Den ended, it is believed that a war correspondent at the time actually moved bodies in order to get good photographs. Now, it's rumored that the souls of these men who were moved have never found peace and that they continue to haunt the area. Visitors and paranormal investigators report seeing apparitions. They report orbs. You can smell phantom gunfire, and you can hear disembodied sounds. Now, many people that go to the Devil's Den report that they have camera problems in the Devil's Den. Cameras and electrical equipment stop working. Fully charged batteries are drained, but then when visitors leave the Devil's Den, the cameras suddenly start working again. I actually had a chance to go there, and I have to tell you, it is really, I'm an empath, so I pick up on feelings. It is a very sad, sad place. But the whole battlefield of Gettysburg is really, it's just so full, and there's so much there. I mean, there are monuments all around the battlefield, and one in particular. And I don't know if I think I've told you this before, Anthony. There's one in particular, and it's a cross, and it's a Celtic cross, and at the bottom there is a statue of a dog. I got out of the car and I walked over to it, and immediately I could not stop sobbing. I mean, the feelings that are left on this battlefield are just so sad and so overwhelming. I mean, it is a place that when you go there, take your time, go through it, and just trust your senses. No matter how much equipment you bring with you, your senses are probably going to be the best equipment that you have to find where the hauntings are.
I'm curious, what is the significance of the Celtic cross with the dog on the bottom? Do you know?
It was put up by the Irish soldiers, the soldiers that were of Irish descent, and in different spots, where maybe there had been a battle, or a particular spot where maybe someone had perished. That's where they put it up. But this one particular monument it affected me more than any place on this battlefield, even more than the Devil's Den. And don't get me wrong, the Devil's Den is very creepy. When you're crawling up to the top, it's almost like you can look across and you can actually see the tall trees, and you can just almost picture it. You can picture where, if I had a sniper rifle, how easy it would be to take down these people. And it just really is sad. I mean, the whole battlefield is sad. I mean, it's an amazing place.
Is that? Did you visit that place after Eastern Penn?
Yeah, on the way home. Driving, it was like,
okay.
you know what? It's here. I got to go. Because so many people had told me about it, and I never got a chance to actually go into the town. And I do believe that the Jenny Wade House is another spot that really is active. I know Ghost Adventures did their episode, and they focused on that. And there's some sad stories about a couple places in town, too. The one place, I believe it's a store or it's like a museum, and in the basement, supposedly, there is where children were kept, and they were kept against their will, almost like a slave situation, and that's supposed to be an active, sad place. I mean, all in all, it's from war. I mean, the whole situation is a sad situation. So, as we said before in the beginning, you know, spirits that remain there, you know, I'm sure it has to do a lot with just the whole situation. You know, it's just sad. It's a very sad place, but active.
Well, it's sort of like, you know, the spirits were interrupted in their life, and they I don't know, to me, and this is my deduction of it all, you know, they may be sort of lost in their own world, and they were cut short in the prime of their lives, and they don't know what else to do. And you know, hanging around this battlefield, they're lost, they're searching, they're looking. You know, that's their attachment to it, and that's a pretty sad way of, if that is the case, pretty sad way of living the rest of your unlife, or, you know, your dead life.
Yeah. Anthony,
I have one. I have one from my lesser known list, but many people may know it. I didn't know it when I was doing the research. I have King Opera House. And starring at the King Opera House in Van Buren, Arkansas, is a young actor who was killed almost a century ago. The young man was actually murdered a few blocks away at the train depot while he was trying to run away with the daughter of a prominent local doctor. A well-meaning friend of the family saw the couple waiting for the train and alerted the father, who jumped in his buggy and whipped his horses into a frenzy to get to the train station. He arrived at the depot to retrieve his daughter and ended up whipping the young man to death. The daughter ran off, never to be seen again. Janice Cochran, Opera House manager, says the Opera House ghost was first seen by a musician and set designer during the first production in the reopened theater in 1979. But she adds that the director of a very recent play also claims to have seen and actually visited with the ghost. The apparition is said to materialize dressed in a top hat and Victorian-style greatcoat with a long cape. While Cochran is not ready to say she believes in the actor apparition, she admits she had a strange experience in the Opera House 2 years ago at Halloween. Rehearsal had just finished for Cochran's original play, The Legend of the Opera House Ghost. The actors went home, but Cochran remained to finish details on the set. Suddenly, she felt that someone else was in the theater with her. Not believing in ghosts, she tried to ignore it, but the feeling became so strong it was almost like the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck. I was very uncomfortable, she said. That sounds very familiar to me. While reading a Gothic book, while reading a Gothic book recently, Cochran says she ran across some words that might explain the tie that binds the actor to the Opera House. Even though he wasn't murdered there, she read, "A ghost will drift back to what anchored it to the earth." Cochran now tells the tale of the ghost for tour groups. She can be reached at the King Opera House, area code 501-474-2426. And just a little bit of note, the Opera House was first opened in 1901. But I like that little quote that she gives. A ghost will drift back to what anchored it to the earth.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, what better place for an actor to come back and keep performing as where he was most, where he probably got his greatest satisfaction.
Right, where he felt more comfortable. That's what his home is, and that's what his home was, and what will be probably. But I thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is there anything else on your list that you want to share?
Yeah, I have one more, and it's the Hot Lake Hotel in La Grande, Oregon. Now, this one is nestled next to the sulfur waters of Hot Lake Springs in La Grande, and it's a seemingly idyllic slice of Old West Americana. This red brick building with its stately white columns echoes back to an earlier time when the healing waters were all the rage and ladies were carrying parasols and they strolled the grounds. But lurking beneath the serene exterior is a history colored by elements of supernatural and the strange. Now, this was once known as the Mayo Clinic of the West. The Hot Lake Hotel was constructed in 1907. It was purchased in 1917 by Dr. W.T. Fye, who added modern medical facilities, including a hospital, a surgery, and an x-ray room. He created a popular resting spot, which was renowned for the supposed medicinal properties of the spring's thermal waters. People came from throughout the country to partake in the spring's purported healing properties, and the patient ailments ranged from rheumatoid arthritis to fatal cases of syphilis and tuberculosis. Now, after Dr. Fye's death in 1931, the hotel did fall into decline, and in 1934, the wooden structures of the building were burned down, leaving only the red brick exterior. Now, although rumors of the hotel served that it was an insane asylum, after 1934, all of these are unsubstantiated, and that it was used as a nursing home in the 1950s, that's documented. But it was ultimately abandoned in the 1970s until it was purchased privately in 2003. And following the restoration work and the collapse of the entire West Wing in 2008, the hotel finally opened in 2010, and it's actually listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Now, among the most commonly reported supernatural phenomena, there are numerous reports of unearthly piano music. Now, in its early days, the hotel acquired a piano owned by Robert E. Lee's wife, a piano which was already reputed to play by itself before the hotel got hold of it. Now, in the early days, guests would report hearing this music, and even though the piano was later removed by a former owner who actually committed suicide, this music can still be heard in there. Another popular story involves a gardener who committed suicide on the grounds. It's said that he hung himself behind the hotel, and to this day, reports circulate that he wanders the grounds. Now, there's a gazebo located near one of the hot springs' many lakes, and it's frequently the subject of reports of voices and whispering, perhaps the voices of long-ago lovers finding a stolen moment alone. Along the lake shores, many people report seeing the shadowy figures of long-ago guests. Now, along the highway leading to the hotel, a thick fog sometimes appears, and the stories abound of ghostly apparitions emerging from the mist. Now, prior to the highway, the hotel was connected to the town of Richmond by a 4-mile rail line built by Chinese workers who actually might be still lurking along this path. In the hotel, doors open and close by themselves, footsteps pound across the upper floors, and strange voices echo down the halls. Stories to explain these ghostly occurrences range from claims of vacationers who's passed away while they were there, or patients who were victims of the horrendous experiments, to the departed spirits of the building's former nursing home residents. I mean, it actually sounds cool. I mean, it sounds active. You know? It just sounds cool.
It's another great place that, we added that to the list.
Added to the list.
Added to the list. No, but you added it to the list of lesser known because it has a story, and I think that's why we wanted to bring these stories up, these locations up tonight, was because they have a story. They, and I mentioned this before when I was on the phone with Joe, that, these places sort of have that trifecta. They've got the history, they've got the reports, and the geological location itself, either it be an Indian burial ground or water stream or high power lines nearby, that sort of are conductors for the spirit world. And you've got the the makings of a great place to try and do your research. That is what we're all trying to do out here, is just trying to find the answers to whether or not life is out there, and if it is, what is it like? Who are they?
Well, one of the things that I really enjoy that we're bringing, these lesser-known places is that you don't always have to go to the hot spots that everybody goes to. These are smaller places that not that many people investigate, so which means they're still there. It's still ripe for the investigating. I mean, they're places where you can go and you can experience this, because don't you feel that sometimes when a place really gets visited too many times that maybe even the spirits get tired of it?
Yeah, I mean, Noah was saying earlier, we all search and we look for places, and we watch Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters, and we get all antsy and excited to then go out and go to those places and investigate. And I'm guilty of it as well, only because I'm enthralled and I love history. I love learning about things, and when I see them on television, I get excited about it and I want to go. But there are folks out there who can't afford to go to these places because, number one, they charge hefty fees. And to do an overnight investigation or you know this, Lucy, even just a 4-hour investigation, it costs a lot of money to do this. And it's all coming out of everyone's pockets. This is a hobby. This is a very expensive hobby that is hurting a lot of people, and so some people are not fortunate enough to be able to do that. But Noah had mentioned in the beginning when he was on the call about the Edgar Allan Poe house, and as he mentioned, it's free. You can go during the day. You don't have to go at night, and you can walk around. You can probably, I'm sure, sit somewhere or stand somewhere with a recorder, and start an EVP session on your own. It doesn't cost a thing. You don't have to shell out a whole lot of money for that. And if you're able to find places like that, start there. Try that. Give it a shot. Who knows what you can find? Like I was saying before, I didn't think Sedownsville Rectory was anything to, bat your eyelashes at. But we found amazing stuff from there. And that place was, it did charge a fee, but it was cheaper than a lot of the other places that we've been to.
And we didn't know anything about it. So I'm adding the Edgar Poe house to our itinerary for when we go to Philly. Absolutely.
We're
going to have to go there.
I know, Lucy, we weren't doing news tonight. We weren't planning on doing that because we were hoping to get a lot of calls, but apparently there's some issue with the phone lines. Sure, the one show where we are dedicating the show to all the listeners out there, our phone lines are not working. And again, I apologize for that. But and I know I said that we said that we weren't going to do any news tonight, but today it was funny. I was just strewing along Google and trying to find news stories of anything, of any nature, and I came across this one, which I thought sort of fits tonight's topic, and it's a pretty weird article. It was done March 18th, and it's by Lauren Davis, and it's a weird website, which I can't. It's io9 and the number 9.com. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there's a better way to, I'll probably put a link to this on our Facebook page. But anyway, the title of it is Check the Morbid Listings for Hong Kong's Haunted Houses. Apparently, in Hong Kong, the housing market, the prices are going through the roof. They're saying that they're rising 70% since 2009. And folks are just not buying homes in Hong Kong because of this. But because there's a law in Hong Kong that homeowners must disclose everything. Here in America, we have to disclose or you hope that, homeowners who are selling a home to you disclose everything, leaks, floods, electrical issues, roofing issues, anything like that. You'd hope that they would disclose it, and that's why we have inspectors. But, inspectors can be bought off. like anyone else. And so you may not know that, but in Hong Kong, it is a very severe law if you do not disclose everything that could be wrong with the home that you're about to buy. And apparently this applies to anything supernatural as well. And in this article, it talks about how many of the Hong Kong people believe that the ghosts of the people who died violently thanks to an accident, a murder, or a suicide haunt their former residents and bring sort of bad fortune to any of the new occupants. And they are forced to sort of reveal that their home is haunted. They have to. And now it's becoming sort of a niche in the market, in the housing market in Hong Kong, because folks are not buying homes. They're able to now, I guess the buyers out there are able to get homes in fairly good neighborhoods at a decent price now because homeowners have to disclose any sort of supernatural findings. And so they've got these listings, these home listings, and they actually, in this article here, they've attached 4 listings of houses. I'm not going to give you the addresses or anything like that, but they list what the paranormal activity is in their home and the history of it. So I just wanted to read you a few of these. I thought they were pretty funny. In this first home, it says, 20-year-old anorexic female with body weight of 70 pounds fell and fainted at home. She was found dead in the hospital. I guess that's the history of this home.
Oh, wow.
The second one is 36-year-old burnt charcoal at home due to debt and relationship problems and was found dead by his mother. A young female texted. This is weird. A young female texted and asked her boyfriend to meet her, but he sent her sister instead. Victim jumped off the building in front of the sister.
Oh, God. Oh, no. That's not funny.
Here's another one. 67-year-old female blindfolded herself and jumped off the building, I guess it was an apartment building, due to her suffering of insomnia. This is what these people are putting in their home listings. I mean, would you be attracted to any of these houses?
Actually, probably yes.
Oh, well, yeah, I know. As morbid as we are, probably.
You know what? Talking about that, I do think that some states in the United States are starting that where disclosure you have to add if there's anything considered paranormal. I know it's not in all states, but I thought I read something about that we're starting to do that here in the States, that we have to disclose things like that.
It's supposed to have full disclosure. You are supposed to have full disclosure on everything when you're selling your home. And if it means that there was a murder in the home or anything of that nature, you're supposed to. I mean, not so much talk about paranormal. You would hope that people would do that and disclose it. And I know there's a sort of a niche market out there right now where folks are advertising that they do have paranormal activity because there's a market for it. There are people who, are seeing these ghost adventures, ghost hunters, and, reality shows where they think they can sort of make a fast buck. And if you buy a home at this price, they'll open it up to paranormal investigators and pretty much make their money hand over fist, which is pretty sad to think that way, but that's the world, that's what they're doing. But more times than that, folks are not disclosing their paranormal activity in their home because it scares away people. People are not as open to it as they are overseas.
Right. Well,
we have Lucy. We have about 11 minutes left. Do you want to get into the ending of the show?
Yeah. Can we mention our group?
Yeah. Okay. So here's where we promote and highlight fellow paranormal investigators from around the world. We've already mentioned groups from the West Coast, East Coast, and one from Canada. so why hasn't your group been mentioned on our show? What are you waiting for? Just send us an email at paranormalreviewradio@yahoo.com with my promo in the subject line. Be sure to include your group's name, all the names of your members, and any interesting facts about your group or any of your investigations. We love giving back to the paranormal community and hope that this helps get your group and your mission out in the public for everyone to notice. So our first one comes from Dawn Gomez, and she wants to promote a paranormal conference that her group is hosting. And this is the first annual paranormal conference held at a local college in Southern California, and it's being hosted on April 12th. This conference is to educate the younger generation about the paranormal field, and also they will have a Q&A with their guests with any questions the audience would like to ask. It's hosted by Eastside Paranormal, Beyond Paranormal Investigations, and LAOEDS. The speakers are Peaches from California Paranormal Private Investigators, Joe and Rebecca Mendoza from 3AM Paranormal, Brian Clune from Planet Paranormal, Los Angeles Paranormal Association, Frank, and excuse me if I'm ruining this name, Frank Baracos from Beyond Paranormal Investigation, Joey Martinez from LA Occult and Entity Demonic Society, and Brad Johnson, professional conscious channeler and metaphysical lecturer. They're also going to have booths there. Wayne Poe of Night Stalkers DVD, Artie Feist, Mind State Magazine, Julie Fiedler, Julie's Jewels, NOPS, North Orange County Paranormal Society, LAPRS, Los Angeles Paranormal Research Society, Neil Gower, Portal to Ascension, and Southern California Paranormal Alliance, the donation booth for the troops. I don't think Dawn gave me a link to a site for more information, but I do know that they have a Facebook page. So you can just go to Facebook and search Eastside Paranormal Investigation Team, and I'm sure you can ask them for more information. I mean, it sounds like a great event, and we wish you guys the best of luck with this convention.
Okay. Well, I have a group, Paranormal Distraction. They're located in Omaha, Nebraska, and Kansas City, Missouri, and they cover all the surrounding states. Their goal is to comfort and help those in need of answers. They may have and verify if there are any hauntings at the location they're being called to. They strive at providing the most accurate information with the use of high-tech equipment and knowledge through the experiences of the paranormal. They are a scientific-based, and as a team, they've been together for almost 2 years. They were established in 2010. A few of them have had experiences since they were young children. Now, they support true para-unity, not those that say it and do not show it or have some sort of respect and professionalism and do not take this field seriously. They believe that there are many good people out there that do help in the paranormal community. You can find them on Facebook. Just type in Paranormal Distraction. They're on Ustream at PDTV Live. Their phone number is area code 402-707-0381, and you can get hold of Angelique Christensen, the founder and case manager. We commend you on being a true para-unity group.
Absolutely.
Anthony, I want to announce our Paranormal Radio Review Fan of the Week. This young lady is a big part of the show. Every week when you hear the beginning music that we have, this young lady is responsible. She's an up-and-coming singer, songwriter in the Chicago area, and she's going to be heard. I'm telling you right now, this woman is going to be a star. I'd like to congratulate our Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, Miss Siren Marie.
Yay.
Siren, yay. Siren has a Facebook page, so if you go in and you type in Siren Marie or Siren the Goddess, you'll find her page. Show her some love, and like I said, every week when you hear the beginning and ending of the show, she's the person responsible. So thank you so much, Siren. You're a big part.
Thank you, Siren.
Okay. I guess that's it, Anthony. We're going to end this week's edition of Paranormal Review Radio. Again, apologize so greatly for the telephone problems. We really were looking forward to hearing from you. But you know what? You can always post your stories, post your pictures, send them to us on our Facebook page, send us an email. Again, very, very sorry. But thank you, Anthony, for another fantastic show. Thank you to all of you, and especially to the callers that we did get in. Now, we hope you enjoyed our short tour of Haunted America. Now, hopefully this has gotten you psyched up for your upcoming investigations wherever they may be this year. I know I am. And, in fact, before we go, I have to talk about our next show, okay? We're going to be broadcasting this Wednesday, April 11th, okay? Why, you ask? Well, let me tell you. We're going to be investigating Prospect Place Mansion in Trinway, Ohio. This is my birthday present. We'd like to invite you along, really. Okay, now let me explain how we're going to do this. Have you ever wanted to actually take part in an investigation that's being streamed or broadcast live over the Internet? We all have. Well, this Wednesday night, we are inviting you, the listener, to take part and interact with the spirits at Prospect Place during a live EVP session and a ghost box session. Now, when you call the show that night at 661-244-9831, we're going to have you on speaker so the spirits can hear your question and respond. Anthony, I'm not sure anyone else has ever done this before, have they?
I don't think so. If they have, it may not have been successful, but we're going to give it a shot, and we're going to try hard, and hopefully those phone lines are going to work that night.
Well, this is another first for the best fans in the world, ours. So get your questions ready. Make sure you mark your calendars for this Wednesday night, and join us live from Prospect Place Mansion. So until then, have a paranormal week, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Someplace. Over here. Open the door. Oh, I no way I'm going in there. I don't care. Just open it. Let's go in. Come on, man. Okay. Whoa, look at this place, man. It's cool. I could like to leave. It's like a haunted house. Hey, the door. Uh-oh.
Welcome, boys. Come right in.
Please come in. You're welcome here. Mind the cobwebs and the bone. May we invite you to spend the night. Make yourself at home. Step this way, here's the living room. Though dead room is actually more correct. 'Cause there hasn't been a living soul here since Grandpa broke his neck. In our In our haunted house that could be hazardous, browse around the kitchen, have a spoon, a fork, a knife. You must excuse those ketchup stains. We ate someone last night. Here is your big bedroom, dears. You'll love the creaky bed. You'll sleep just fine, but when you wake, you still may feel half dead. In our haunted house, the butler is a ghost. The upstairs maid's been buried for years,
And the chauffeur's comatose.
in our haunted house, our hospitality is something of which we're very proud.
Oh, do you take poison in your tea?
Don't let the spider webs mess up your head. Don't mind the piano playing with no one there. The crumbling bookshelves covered with dust. One or two headless bodies, what's all the fuss? The dreadful pounding, the screams and moans. It's just a typical night at home.
In our haunted house, things float through the walls. You might see sights that chill the soul. Be sure to wear a shawl.
We'd love you to come in. Stay a while and
Play. Once you finally settle in, you'll never go away. We'll make sure of that.
midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found without the soul for getting down must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell. I'm gonna do it tonight. Stenches in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family. Their house is a museum. When people come to see them, they really are a scream, the Addams Family.
Neat. Sweet. The teeth.
So get a witch's shawl on, a broomstick you can crawl on. We're gonna pay a call on the Addams Family.
Send shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear these zombies shriek.
We're so sorry, skeletons, you're so misunderstood. You only want to socialize,
but I don't think we should.
'Cause spooky, scary skeletons shout startling, shrilly screams. They'll sneak from their sarcophagus and just won't leave you be.
Bags of bones seem so unsafe. It's semi-serious.
Spooky, scary skeletons are silly all the same. They'll smile and scrabble slowly by and drug you so insane. Sticks and stones will break your bones. They seldom let you snooze. Spooky, scary skeletons will wake you with a boo.
boys and girls of every age, wouldn't you like to see something strange? Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Pumpkins scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween. Everybody make a scene. Trick or treat. Tell the neighbors gonna die of fright. It's our town. Everybody scream. This town of Halloween.
I am the one hiding under your bed. Teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red.
I am the one hiding under your stairs. Fingers like snakes and spiders in my hair. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. 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 In this town we call home. Everyone hail to the pumpkin song.
In this town, don't we love it now? Everybody's waiting for the next surprise.
Round that corner and hiding in the trash can, something's waiting there to pounce and how you'll scream.
This is Halloween.
Red and black.
And slimy green.
Aren't you scared?
Well, that's just fine. Say it once, say it twice. Take a chance and roll the dice. Ride with the moon in the dead of night.
Everybody scream. Everybody scream.
In our town of Halloween. I am the clown with the tearaway face.
Here in a flash and gone without a trace.
I am the who in the cold stare.
I am the wind blowing through your hair. I am the shadow on the moon at night, filling your dreams to the brim with fright. This is Halloween, this is Halloween. Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Halloween, Halloween. Tender lumplings everywhere. Life's no fun without a good scare.
That's our job.
But we're not mean in our town of Halloween.
In this town,
Don't we love it now? Everyone's waiting for the next surprise.
Skeleton Jack might catch you in the back and
Scream like a banshee, make you jump out of your skin.
this is Halloween. Everybody scream.
Won't you please make way for a very special guy?
Old Man Jack is king of the pumpkin patch. Everyone hail to the pumpkin king. Now this is Halloween. This is Halloween. Halloween, 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 Halloween.
In this town we call home. Everyone hail to the pumpkin song.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to my Halloween house. It's time to go trick-or-treating, so
Sure to light your pumpkins.
The ghost says, "Ooh." The cat says, "Meow." The goblins say, "Trick or treat, it must be Halloween." The wolf howls, the wind blows, the witches laugh. He, it must be Halloween. Skeletons may dance about, but jack-o'-lanterns light. Spooks and monsters are all out, 'cause the moon is full tonight. The slime goes, the ooze goes. Ew, it's yucky, but it's fun tonight. It must be Halloween. Skeletons may dance about, but jack-o'-lanterns light. Spooks and monsters are all out, 'cause the moon is full tonight. The ghost says, "Ooh." The cat says, "Scat." The goblins say, "Trick or treat, it must be Halloween. It must be Halloween."
I would like, if I may, to give you a strange
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control.
I remember doing the time war, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again.
It's just a jump to the left.
And then a step to the right.
With your hands on your hips.
You bring your knees in tight. Raise the pelvic thrust. It really drives you insane. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again. It's so dreamy. Oh, fantasy freely. So you can't see me. No, not at all. In another
Majors. Your phone we might use? Great Scott! Say, one of you guys know how to Madison? For God's sake, keep a grip on yourself, Janet. Janet!
Dr. Scott!
Janet!
Dad!
Rucker! I knew he was in with a bad crowd. Damn it. I knew I should have gotten that spare tire fixed.
What diabolical plan had seized Frank's crazed imagination?
The intruder is entering the building. Master.
of candy collected Halloween. Biggest bag of candy I had ever seen. Had to have it x-rayed before I had a treat. To be sure, a psycho hadn't put a razor in my sweets. Ooh, hear the ghosts and the goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is said, only by the ghouls who were dead. Trick-or-treating at the mall, scare the preppies at the Gap. Especially if your costume isn't politically correct. The mall can't give out candy because of a lawsuit that they had. But here's a coupon for a futon in the bottom of your bag. Ooh, hear the ghosts and the goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is said, only by the ghouls who were dead. Goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is said, only by the ghouls who were dead. Mommy and Daddy follow in the van, mace and a cell phone in their nervous hands. It's hard to spook the neighbors into giving up some loot when you're a ninja in a down coat at 4 PM. Ooh, hear the ghosts and the goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is said, only by the ghouls who were dead. Ooh, hear the ghosts and the goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is said, only by the ghouls who were dead. Ooh, hear the ghosts and the goblins cry. They get to wishing for the days gone by, when the little kids were frightened, it is sad, only by the ghouls who were dead. Only by the ghouls who were dead. Only by the ghouls who were dead.
Look, Master, I have the brain.
I'd like mine scrambled with toast, thank you. Why isn't that Frankenstein's monster? Don't scream too loudly, or you might wake him. It's alive! It's alive! Good God! It's alive!
In a dark castle lives Dr. Frankenstein. Igor finds the body parts for the monster and his bride. Thunderbolt of lightning, very, very frightening. Sneaking up behind you, he's going to find you.
Why, isn't that Count Dracula? I homemade pizza with lots of lumps of garlic. Otherwise, you might lose a few pints.
Look into my eyes. I want to drink your blood. Who's afraid of daylight? Sleeps in a coffin, lives on blood, takes your soul, never ever lets you go. Lurking in the shadows is Count Dracula. Don't look into his eyes, for you will meet your demise. Black cats and vampire bats, scarecrows in straw hats, jack-o'-lanterns, scary grins with eyes all aglow. Ghosts and ghouls with rattling chains, your blood runs cold through your veins. Chills run up and down your spine. This haunted house will blow your mind.
See, children, you do believe now, don't you? Don't tell me you're frightened. That's just too bad. Why don't you run to your mommy and daddy? If you can find them.
hairy-handed gent who ran amok in Kent. Lately he's been overheard in Mayfair. You better stay away from him. He'll rip your lungs out, Jim. I'd like to meet his tailor. Werewolves of London.
doing the werewolves of London. I saw Lon Chaney Jr. walking with the Queen, doing the werewolves of London. I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's. His hair was perfect. Werewolves of London. Draw blood. Werewolves of London.
You're with your baby in your park alone on a summer night. You're deep in love, but you're deeper in the woods. You think you're doing alright. Did you hear that voice? Did you see that face? Or was it just a dream? This can't be real, that only happens, babe, on the movie screen. Oh, but he's back. He's the man behind the mask, and he's out of control. He's back. The man behind the mask, and he crawled out of his home. You're swimming with your girl out on Lover's Lake, and the wind blows cold. It chills your bones, but you're still on the make. That's a bad mistake. But the moon was full, and you had a chance to be all alone. But you're not alone. This is your last dance and your last romance. Yeah, 'cause he's back. He's the man behind the mask, and he's out of control. He's back. The man behind the mask, and he crawled out of his home. Oh, if you see him come and get away if you can, just keep on running, run as fast as you can. He's a dangerous, dangerous man, and he's out tonight, and he's watching you, and he knows your house. No, don't turn out the lights. Yeah, 'cause he's back. He's the man behind the mask, and he's out of control. He's back. The man behind the mask, and he's after your soul. He's back. He's the man behind the mask, and he's out of control. He's back. The man behind the mask, and he's after your soul. He's back. He's the man behind the mask, and he's out of control. He's back.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash.
He did the monster mash with my love Natari in the castle east, to the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to catch a jolt from my electrodes. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, oh, we're digging the sounds. Egon on chains, backed by his baying hound. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker 5. They played the monster mash, and it was a graveyard smash. It's caught on in a flash. They played the monster mash. Out from his coffin Drax's voice did ring. Seems he was troubled by just one thing. Opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?"
It's now the mash.
It's now the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It's now a graveyard smash.
It's now the mash.
It's caught on in a flash.
It's now the mash.
It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool, Drax a part of the band. And my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Then you can monster mash.
The monster mash.
And do my graveyard smash. You'll catch on with a flash. Then you can monster mash. Mash good! Easy, Igor, you impetuous young boy. Mash good! Mash good! Easy, Igor, easy.
can split.